Hey everybody, it's your good friend Spider back again with another episode of Uncanny Media, the show. The podcast that basically just takes my brain, shakes it out into a bowl, and lets you gobble up all of my thoughts and feelings like a big old helping of breakfast cereal. I guess. I don't know. I don't know where that came from. But welcome. Welcome back for another one. I'm uncomfortable. I'll tell you that. I'm not miserable. Not in a mental sense. I mean, not in a mental sense. Mental wise, I'm doing really well. I'll get to that in a little bit. But physical wise, man, I'm feeling miserable because the temperature here in Ohio has skyrocketed. And, I mean, some people are going to be like, well, that's not very much compared to where I live. It's 102 in the shade. But here in Ohio, it suddenly got up into the high 80s, in Fahrenheit, of course, because, you know, we're the United States. We don't like any of those other Celsius and things. The high 80s, bordering on 90 degrees. And we're not equipped for it yet. Like, we don't usually get this warm this early in the year. We get a couple of days sometimes that are warm-ish, like high 70s, low 80s, but not high 80s into the 90s in May. And so I don't have any of my air conditioners hooked up. I don't have any of that going. I've got several windows open to try to get a breeze in here, but there's not much of a breeze, which is kind of part of the problem. It stormed a little bit earlier for about, I don't know, a half hour. Had some rain. Nothing really to be complaining about. But I'm sweaty. I'm sweating buckets, as they say. I'm sweating buckets. Which is crazy for me, because when I was younger, I always thought I had bad sweat glands. Because when I was a lot younger, it must just be... I must have had a very efficient vascular system, or whatever it is, that the sweat glands are a part of when I was younger. Because I hardly ever sweat when I was a kid. And even up into being a teenager, into my 20s, I didn't sweat much. I became well known for wearing long sleeves and jeans in the hottest of weather. Sometimes even a jacket, because I had to force my body to sweat in order for my body to cool down. I had to overheat my body in order to cool it down so that it wouldn't naturally just overheat. No amount of shorts or t-shirts would help me cool down. I couldn't sweat. I don't know what it was. But as I grew older, into my late 30s and into my 40s now, my goodness, I just sweat all the time. Oh my gosh, every little bit of heat just gets the sweat moving. And lately, because it's been so hot, I have just been out of control with my sweat. Not that that's pleasant for everybody to listen to, but it's true. It's real life. This is, listening to the podcast here, that everything I talk about is real life. It's all real talk. I don't make up stories. I don't embellish things. I don't think I do. I mean, I try to keep everything as true to life as possible, because this is my life. This is how things happen. And I'm a big sweaty pig right now. I'll tell you, I'm a big sweaty pig right now. My goodness. And I'm not comfortable. I'm just not comfortable. I don't like to be a big sweaty pig. I'll tell you. I don't like it. But we're going to have 60-degree days in the next, sometime later this week, for the rest of the week. So it's going to be cool, and I'm not going to need the air conditioners. So I'm not putting them in yet, because we're having a few days, even beyond that, where they're potentially calling for frost warnings down into the 30s. It's like, Ohio, can you get yourself together? Can you just get yourself together here, Ohio? Because that would be fantastic if you could. Oh my gosh, but that's your weather report for Ohio, because we always have to start every episode talking about weather because I'm an old man now. I'm old, and that's what we do. We discuss the weather. And I'm sweating buckets. So what else has been going on? I want to say hello. I know it's late. It's now 6 minutes into the episode, but I want to say hello to all of the new listeners because again, for another week, we've just all of a sudden increased the amount of people tuning in. We've got a lot of new listeners, a lot of people checking out the podcast, and I'm so grateful for you. I really am. I'm grateful to have you aboard. You're tuning in, you're listening. People are tuning into the old episodes, they're tuning into middle of the road episodes. It's just astounding to see the growth that has occurred. And it's been a long road to get here, and I've said this a few times. This was the plan I had back when I was on that old radio show that tried to get me into legal trouble. Okay, I'm not going to name check them because they don't deserve it, but I'm not going to try to make them any more famous or infamous than they already are. They've gotten a lot more exposure from me talking about them than they ever have on their own, but back when I first got into radio and podcasting and things, I wanted to have multiple shows, multiple genres, multiple avenues going on because I felt it would be in the best interest of what we were trying to build. We were trying to build a network rather than just a single show. We started with a show, and we were trying to build a network of interconnected people and interconnected businesses and different things, and we were trying to, make a big thing out of it, and that was my goal, and I kept trying to come up with ideas, and they kept getting shot down or misused or whatever. And eventually, you guys know, I left that and moved on with This Uncanny Earth, which was the first next major show I was a part of. I had little shows in between there, but that was the next major show. But from that beginning, we've grown. We've grown so much. The podcast here is becoming more and more popular. This Uncanny Earth is still growing in leaps and bounds, rather. My own YouTube channel is doing very well. The Twitch channels are doing very well. We've got such a solid base of content going on, and I'm grateful. I am grateful for everybody that tunes in. That's what I'm trying to say with all this. I'm not trying to brag or I'm humbled. I am humbled by everybody that tunes in, especially when I see spikes of all of a sudden, oh, here's a whole bunch of new listeners. It must mean they liked something and they told people about it, and all of a sudden here they are flooding the plays, and I appreciate you. I definitely appreciate you. Thank you very much. There's more on the way. There is always more. There's more on the way. So, what do we got going on for tonight? We've got a few different things. I've got some stories about what's going on here at home, and I've got some stories about what's going on in my local area, and maybe some things beyond. Let's talk about what's happening right here. Throughout the history of being in this house, we moved into this house. Let's see. Me and my wife were together maybe a year, maybe two before we moved. We weren't married then at the time, of course. We hadn't gone through the process. But, ow, this cat's clawing my leg. Ouch. Excuse me. But, so I think it's been 15, 16 years. Off and on throughout that time, we've had issues with mice getting in. And we've done things to deter them and to trap them and then set them free in places far away from the house, like down at the local park. Because we're not trying to murder the mice. We're not trying to hurt them. We just, they can't be in my house, right? Especially nowadays. Now you've got hantavirus from mouse droppings and things like that. And maybe we'll talk about that later. I'm not actually that worried about it, to be honest. I don't think I'm going to get that here. But anyway, off and on throughout the years, we've had issues where a mice infestation will happen. We'll take care of it. It'll go away for a while. Won't see any evidence of mice. And then, abruptly, they'll show up again, and it's a whole thing, and then they'll go away, and we do different things to take care of it. This year, they apparently have come back, and they've got the cats. They've got my cats all up in arms. My cats are hearing the noises of them skidding around different places, and we don't have food just sitting around for mice to get into. I'll get into something in a minute, but we don't generally have, I keep most of the snacks, like the chips and the cookies and things, up on top of the fridge. In the cupboards, we have tea, we have coffee, we have flour in containers. It's not just sitting in bags of things. They're usually in containers. Most of the food is contained in places. It's never just sitting out where anything that might get into the house can just wander around and be like, oh, here's a package of food, let's get into it. We had my daughter and my wife are huge into the prepackaged ramen, where you open the package, you put it in boiling water, you let it sit, and then you put it in the seasoning packet, that kind of stuff, right? It's standard stuff. We had so much of these ramen packages, because they liked it enough that we get it in bulk, we have a lot of it, that we had some of it in a spot on the floor in a little alcove between where the cupboards are and where the stove is. It's just tucked away. It's not out in the open where you're going to step on it or make a mess out of it. It's just there. And you reach back there and you grab a packet and you open it and you make it, right? Apparently the mice had started getting into some of those. Getting into those packages. Because it was convenient. There's a hole in the wall at the right behind the stove. And it must lead outside somewhere. Because I noticed it, and we haven't had a chance to close it off yet. Because it's in a really inconvenient spot to get to. You can't really swing a hammer back there to hammer a piece of wood over it. You can't just close it off with some kind of paper or tape or whatever, because things will get through it. Because it's basically a mouse hole, right? It's a mouse hole. So they were getting in there, and they're going after the ramen packets. So I've since cleaned up that and moved the ramen to a more secure area where they're not going to get to it. I don't have any other places where they're going to get to stuff. But because now they're looking for more food, they're roaming. They're trying to get out of that little area to look around the house to find food, which we don't just keep food out. It's not sitting on the table, rotting away. It's not, we keep things relatively clean as far as that goes. But so the mice are roaming, and the cats are noticing, and they're like, oh, there's a mouse. Most of the cats are dopey, to be fair. They've never chased a mouse in their life. Never chased a mice in their life. They've never chased a mouse in their life. They have no idea. They just see something fast, and it's like, oh, I want to play with that. Our one girl cat, we have one girl, and the rest of them are boys. Our one girl cat, we brought her in from outside. She'd been out in the yard with her little baby son, and we'd rescued the both of them. Her son is my daughter's cat. He thinks he's a wild, savage cat, but he's kind of a pushover. But he acts like he's this tough outdoors cat still. But his mother, who's right here now getting up on my lap, she must have heard me talking about her. She must have been an accomplished hunter of small critters outside, because that's what she does in the house. She has caught, to date, 5 mice. 3 of which, if I'm remembering correctly, well, maybe 2. 2 of them were injured to the point there was nothing we could do about it. One of them was a little injured, but it seemed to be doing okay outside when I put it outside, and it disappeared. So I'm hoping it managed to continue its mousy life. And 2 more that she's caught that I've tried to retrieve from her and managed to get her to let them go, and then they've retreated back into the house. So her name is Lizzie. She's Miss Elizabeth. She's on my lap right now as if she knew I was going to be talking about her. She's twitching her tail. She's trying to butter me up. Like, yeah, tell the story of me. I'm a championship mouser. I don't want the cats, like, eating the mice because they could get parasites. They could get diseases and things. And so I try to get them to let go, and I'll collect the mouse if I can, if it's alive, and I'll set it outside. And if it's not alive, I'll find a spot for it outside to be unobtrusive and probably disposed of by other local outside wildlife. Okay, I don't mean that to sound cold, but I'm not going to bury every single mouse that unfortunately meets an untimely end. Okay, nature is what it is. The other day, most of the mice have been tiny. They're just little. They're little because they've come in from outside. There's barely anything to them. They're very small. They're just looking for refuge from whatever the weather was, and they decided to stay. She caught one the other day that, my goodness, if it was any bigger, it would be a rat. And that's got me thinking, like, do we have mice that big in these walls? Or is this, like, the king mouse? Is this Mighty Mouse? Is this the biggest? Like, what is this? It's the biggest one I've ever seen in this house. And I haven't seen, like, all the other ones she's caught have been smaller. I haven't seen any other ones. And it got away, of course. When I got her to let go of it, I couldn't scoop it in time to get it outside, and it scampered off somewhere. So it's still living somewhere in this home, unfortunately. But it was big. It was a big mouse. It was a big mouse. I don't know how many mice I've seen that have been that big in person. I've seen big mice on TV shows, movies, and whatnot, but in person, like in this house, we've never had a mouse that big. And I think what happened was because they hadn't had access to a good food supply, and the little ones kept getting caught, that eventually, like, they would probably bring food back to the big one. It's probably like a king mouse. It's Mighty Mouse. It's Mighty Mouse. It's the leader of the mice tribes. And eventually it was like, well, I guess I gotta do something for myself, because you other mice can't get me the food I require. And it came out, and it had an encounter with this girl cat, and she caught it. But it's still alive somewhere. I hope it has gone back outside in search of different food. I have humane traps. When I say humane traps, I have traps where you put a little bit of strong-smelling food, like some peanut butter or some strong cheese or something, and then they go in and they can't get back out. It doesn't murder them. It doesn't hurt them or anything. And then you take the trap and you have a special way to open it and release them in a secluded space. So I have those, and we're going to be putting those out at some point to try to get whatever mice are left, hopefully that big one, my goodness, to take them outside down to wherever they go. Now also, every year, I'm leaning into the mic because I'm watching one walk around on the wall right now, we get a mild ant infestation. Not like the little get into your food picnic style ants, but like carpenter ants. They get inside and they're looking for big morsels of food, and they're looking for wood that they can chew up. And I kind of, I have a bad feeling about the walls beyond the drywall in this house. I have a feeling that if we were ever to take down the drywall and redo all of that, I don't think we would find damage from termites, anything like that. I don't believe we've got termite damage, but I think we've got carpenter ants that have probably made some holes in certain parts of the walls. And that's potentially why the mice found a way in. And it gets you wondering. There's so many different critters and creatures and things that they're genetically evolved to go through trees and logs and various woody plants. And when humans put a house somewhere made out of wood, generally, then you have to wonder if these various critters and creatures are like, oh, hey, this looks like something I can get into. I can inhabit this. And so I'm dreading the day when we have to get past the drywall in some parts of the house and look at the actual wood parts of the walls of the house, because I feel like we're going to have some issues. It's one of those things that's kind of like I don't want to know, so I've let it go for a while. But at some point, it's going to be an issue, and I know I'm not going to be happy with what I find. So that's the story of Mighty Mouse versus Miss Elizabeth, which is what this episode is called. Speaking of wildlife, let's go back to the local wildlife, because once again, developments have happened. Things have developed. As you might have known from previous episodes, especially one that I actually used this as a title for, the local wildlife is my nickname for various people in my town and my general area who like to cause trouble for various reasons. Not necessarily, some of them have legitimate grievances, but they're going about them the wrong way, and others of them feel like because they got a traffic ticket or because they did something stupid and they got a fine or arrested for it, they feel like, oh, well, now the cops are against me, and they mistreated me, and the city is against me, and I'm angry, and I'm going to go yell at the city, and I'm going to go down to City Hall and make a stink about it. I've talked about it before. Recently, the last couple days, on Mondays, every week generally, our city has a city council meeting, which is generally open to the public. And for the most part, they have a segment of these meetings that is called Public Speaks, where they allow members of the public, for a brief time, you have like 5 minutes to make your case and then sit down, move aside for somebody else, because you can't be there all night, right? It's not a filibuster, it's not, just blah, 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 blah. Where the citizens can say, hey, you know what, we need to address this in our city. This is an important thing, and I don't think it's being paid attention to, so let's talk about it. And so, most of the time, that works out okay. There's a few people with legitimate gripes, like, hey, we've got a lot of potholes in this area of town, we've got a lot of businesses shut down, let's see what we can do to fix this. And there's other people who are, complaining about piddly things. Like, oh, the police are so out of control because I got a traffic ticket because I was going 5 miles over in the 25 zone and I shouldn't have been ticketed, and your police need to be corrected and they need to be oversight, and there's people who will just do things like that, right? So there's complainers, and then there's people with legitimate gripes. There is a group of the local wildlife who would go in and shout and scream and threaten and use poor language and just really make a mess of themselves for the Public Speaks segment, to the point where they had to be asked to calm down, and in some cases had to be asked to leave because they were just so disruptive, and they were just insulting. Whatever their point was, it didn't matter. It was drowned out by their vitriol and their anger and their whatever. And even if they had a legitimate gripe, at this point it doesn't matter. You're being abusive. Nobody's going to listen to you if you're doing this. So the Public Speaks segment, for a little while, for a couple weeks, got shut down. And these people were mad. These people were mad. They said it was a violation of their First Amendment rights. They said, oh, this First Amendment is this. You're not allowing us to speak or to address our grievances. Arr! And they made a big stink about it. The city council eventually after a week or two, they let the Public Speaks come back, but it's limited. You know, you have a time frame. You have to be from within the city limits, and you have to have a legitimate grievance. You can't just talk BS just because you want to. There's rules involved. I don't think it has anything to do with First Amendment rights. They're not trying to keep you from saying anything. They just want to keep things on track. They want to keep things on city business. Okay. But these people kept coming back with different stunts. They were mad because they had a veteran who wasn't allowed to speak. But the thing was, he drove from a different town 2 hours away without any advance notice. They just brought him here to talk about whatever they wanted to talk about, and the city council wouldn't let the person talk. Because why would you? It was from out of town, you know. This is city business. And I talked about this before, so we're getting a little off track. But recently, yesterday, which was Monday, as of the recording of this episode, so it's another city council meeting. One of the most, and I'm not naming names, because again, I don't publicly shame people. I'm not trying to make an example out of anybody. I'm just talking about things that I see and things that I experience and that kind of stuff. I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot. I don't want to embarrass anybody. If people listen in and they're the specific person I mentioned, then maybe they will be embarrassed, but they don't have to say, hey, he's talking about me, so nobody will know. Okay? But one of the loudest rabble-rousers, who's like a so-called leader of the opposition movement to the local city council and all that, right? He doesn't live in this city, by the way. He lives in a neighboring city in the county. So he's in the county, but this isn't a place for county business. This is a place for city business, right? So he shows up, as he usually does, because he goes to every meeting. He used to live here, and that's why he does this. He uses that as his justification. He used to live here, but he doesn't anymore. But he's still interested in the local city and the local politics. So he shows up, and this time, they don't allow him into the building. They say, no, you're trespassed from here. You're not allowed to come in here. You have to stay off the property. Because every time he's shown up, he's made derogatory recordings. He's yelled, he's shouted, he's complained, he's made a big deal. And he has an online group an online page on Facebook that he set up to document all the corruption in the city and blah 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 blah, right? He doesn't even live here, remember. But he's documenting the corruption here. He has a page set up, and on his page recently, he had said, and I think I went over this in one of the previous episodes, so it might be rehashing, but just it's an important part of what we're getting to revisit this. He had said, and this isn't an exact quote, but it's very close. He had said, when a group of God-fearing patriots shows up outside of City Hall to exercise their Second Amendment rights, which means they're going to have all their guns prominently displayed because Ohio is an open carry state. He said, when we do that, the city council is not going to be laughing anymore. Now, that's the key phrase. That's the key phrase. If you're going out to demonstrate and you have weapons displayed and whatever in an open carry state, okay, it's a consequence of how these things work. If you're going to have an open carry state, you've got to expect people to show up with their weapons and whatnot, as long as they keep them put away and they don't wave them around and shoot them off in the air and threaten people with them. Okay, whatever. That's how it goes, right? But he said these people won't be laughing anymore, which comes off whether he meant, and he tried to say, because I watched the video, he tried to say, that's not a threat, that's a promise. But the thing is, it comes off like a threat. It sounds very much like a threat. Like you're going to show up with a bunch of people with guns and threaten to use them. And he doesn't understand that. He doesn't get it. I don't know. I hesitate to call him not very bright. Just because he does things that are not very bright. Because this was not very smart. It just wasn't. And I don't know him personally. I've never interacted with him personally. I've only seen him online. I've never seen him out in the wild myself, so I don't know what kind of a person he really is other than what he portrays in these videos, but it came off as a really ignorant thing to say because it sounded like a threat. So when he showed up at the council meeting this past Monday, they were there, the police were there in force because they had seen that video. They had seen that video somehow, and I'm sure they're keeping an eye on him because of all the things that he said in the past. Which he complains about that too. He's like, oh, they're stalking my page and they're blah, blah, blah. It's because you say things like this. It's because you say things that sound like threats, and that warrants observation. That warrants surveillance of your various social media. So they were there in force as the police, and they told him, you can't be here. You need to get off the property. And he apparently, this is, and you can, I don't know, you can go either way with this. It is public property. Okay, City Hall, a city building is public property. I get that. But that does not mean anybody can just go into every single room or go wherever they want inside the building. It's just like, and I don't want people to get upset when I say this, it's just with the January 6th thing, when people went into the congressional buildings. You can't just go in and wander around in any area you want, because there's various things going on. There's various business going on. Some areas are kind of classified areas. It's not a military area, but it's a place where, there's private business happening. It is for the good of the country, and people use the justification. They say, well, they serve the people, so it's the people's house, so we should be able to go whenever we want. You can't just wander into somebody's office. It's their place of work. Everybody deserves some form of privacy or something, and you can't just bust in and do that. But this guy figured, the local city hall, it's public property, so that means I can do what I want. And so he took a step. He took a step onto the steps of the building. And they saw that, and they were like, well, we trespassed you from this building. We told you couldn't be here. That's trespassing. And they arrested him. And he threw a fit. He threw a big fit. He was like, oh, no, you can't. This is public property. Yeah, but they already told you weren't allowed there because of what you've said and how you've acted. Public property or no, you've made an ass out of yourself. So they arrested him. They didn't keep him for long. It was a minor trespassing charge, that was it, and then released him later that evening. No big deal. But they kept his cell phone. They've kept his cell phone because they're trying to find out if he's made other threatening videos, because that one made it sound like it was threatening. And then immediately, once he got home and had access to a computer and access to the internet, he made another one. And he talked about it, and he made a big fit, and he had other people come on, and he threatened again. He threatened the city council again. And then he said the same line. He said, well, that's not a threat, that's a promise. Well, it is a threat. It's, that's why you keep getting into trouble, because you say things like this. And his whole shtick is, I say the things that everyone else is afraid to say, because I'm not afraid to say it, and it's my First Amendment rights, and blah. But if it sounds threatening, then it sounds threatening. It doesn't matter how you meant it to sound, it matters what it did sound like. And it sounded like you were threatening people with violence. So now, he's on their radar again, full force, and they've got his phone. As of today, I don't know if he's gotten it back yet. I'm sure he will have said so in a video, because I watched his most recent video where he, again, threatened them multiple times. And he said that they still had his phone. Because, again, they're using that for evidence. Now, his argument is that they didn't have a warrant, they didn't have that. But at this point, it's probable cause. Probable cause establishes the ability of police to investigate certain things without getting a warrant. Now, if they need to go... Like, if they are on your property, they're not there to investigate, they just want to ask you some questions. They knock on your door, and you answer, and you don't let them in. But then they hear screams of pain somewhere on the property, like something, oh no, I'm getting stabbed, oh help me, They have probable cause. They don't need a warrant. They're going to get in, they're going to take a look. You know, there's certain situations where they can say probable cause. Now, abuse has happened before. Certain police jurisdictions, and I don't want people to think that I'm going 100% like pro police are correct all the time. I'm not saying that. There have been many times in my lifetime where police have tried to use probable cause, and it's just been an excuse to get in and bully somebody and harass somebody and to cause damage, and you know, they paid the price afterwards. Like the Afroman thing. Okay, the Afroman thing, they had what they thought was probable cause, and they got a warrant for it for that, but the warrant was bogus because there was nothing, they didn't find anything. Okay. But certain cases, if there's violence threatened, or if they think that you're going to do something, then they might cite probable cause as a preventative measure. And if you're going to say, well, they didn't have a warrant, then you better make sure that you have not said anything that allows them probable cause. And if you threaten people, it doesn't matter if you meant it to sound threatening, your intentions aren't at issue here. It's the straight up what you said that establishes whether they believe there's probable cause, and they're going to use that against you in court. So now he's mad, his friends are all mad, they're all posting and reposting and they're calling up the police and complaining and all kinds of other things. And I'm interested in seeing how this is going to end up. I don't think it's going to end well for him. I don't think it's going to end well for him, because it's one thing to say, hey, you know what, I'm mad, I'm pissed off because of the way that this has happened, and I'm going to make my voice heard. That's one thing. But if you say things that sound like you're threatening, or sound like you're calling for people to do something, then that's an entirely different story. It puts what you're saying in a different light. And I am a 100% free speech person. I feel like people should be able to say whatever they want to say whenever they want to say it. But the thing is, if you say something that's threatening or that's derogatory, whatever, the target of that, they have every right to retaliate. If you say, you know what, I hate all these people, I wish they would all die, I just wish they would all just get murdered in their sleep. If you're going to say something like that, then the targets of that, they're well within their rights to be like, you know what, we don't like what you said, and we're going to be prepared in case you try to do anything to us, because that sounds like you're threatening us. Now, if they go out of their way and hunt you down and try to murder you because of that, that's a bit hypocritical, right? So, and I'm not in favor of that. But if you go up to somebody on the street and you say, "You're a dirty blah 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 blah," like some racist remark, and they haul off and punch you in the face, I think that's justified. I think that's justified. If you go and say something racist or horrible to some person out on the street just because you're like, that's not free speech. I mean, yeah, you said it. You can go ahead and say it, and you won't get arrested for saying it, but that won't stop that other person from punching you in the face for it. And if the police come up and say, "Hey, what started this?" and they say, "Hey, he said I was this and this and this, and so I knocked him out for it," I think the police should be very well be like, "All right, well, you shouldn't have hit him, but we understand why you did. Don't let it happen again." And that's it. That's how it is. And you should learn a lesson and get beat up for what you just said. It's not against your freedom of speech. Cat, no. Get down from that. Cat's interrupting my flow now. It's not, because it's not the government coming in and shutting you down for what you said. It's the person that you said it to taking offense and being like, "You know what? That's rude. That's really rude. You're not going to say that to me." Knock you out. I'm not justifying violence. I'm just saying you should not just say whatever. Just because you can, and I 100% support you having the ability to do so, does not mean that you should. Because there are consequences. There are consequences. So, if you go into Harlem and you start going on to some anti-African American rant and you just go making a big deal about it and they beat the shit out of you, you had that coming. You had that coming. You shouldn't have done that. Just like if you're on the opposite side and you go into some predominantly pale-skinned area and you start ranting and raving about this and that, and they come out and they get mad, you brought that on yourself. It's not racism for them to get mad at you about it because you were the racist. So, that's how it goes. Free speech is what it is, but it doesn't mean that somebody's not going to knock you out for saying that. And that's just the way life goes. So this guy in my town, he's finding out. He messed around, and he's finding out. And him and a bunch of his cronies are all, "We're going to look up the legal stuff, and we're going to take it to court." But they're going to lose. They're going to lose because what he said was threatening. And that's all that anybody has to hear. They're going to hear that, hey, this was threatening. They play the soundbite from his video where it sounds like he made a threat, and that's it. His intentions don't matter at that point. It's what was said and what was interpreted. And that's how it's going to go, and he's going to lose. And I hope he thinks about what he's doing, because he is a father, he's got kids, he got custody of his kids after a nasty custody battle, and that's why he is apparently the way he is, because he feels like the city was against him and trying to get his kids back and things like that. And I don't know how he treats his kids. I don't know how he raises them. So I'm not going to say anything at all about his being a father or whatnot. I'm not. I don't know that, and I'm not going to try to say he isn't a good father, because he could be the world's greatest father. He could be the best father of all time. But he's going out, and he's doing these things, and he's aggravating the wrong people for no particular reason, and he's suffering the consequences now. And I don't know what else to tell you. These people do these things, and they act like they're gonna be the winner, and they're gonna, like, everything they do is righteous and it's for a great cause and whatnot, but that's not how the law sees it. Unfortunately. So what else is happening? Let's move on from that. What else is happening? I had a couple of other things in mind that I was going to talk about, and now they're kind of fluttering around at the edges of my brain. Like, do you remember what you were going to say? Do you remember this? Do you remember that? And they're just kind of flopping away, and I don't know. I've had a good several days. I'll say that. Things have... sometimes it seems like everything in life is against you. It's just disaster after disaster after disaster. There's never enough money for what you need to do to fix things around the house, to fix the vehicle, to do what you need, to buy your groceries, to all these things. There's not enough food, there's not enough this, and it seems like everything is just beating you down. And I went through a period of that a few weeks back, because my car still needs a timing chain. We haven't been able to cover that yet. We can't afford that yet. However, other things have gone well. Like we had bonuses. Stop. No. Ugh. What are you doing? I say this as the cats start scratching the walls because they need something to scratch, despite the fact that they have 2 perfectly good scratching posts in the other room. And if you just say, don't do it from where you are on the couch, they don't listen, so you have to physically get up. And as soon as they see you coming, they're like, oh, never mind, I'm not going to do anything. So it wastes the reason you got up to begin with. Anyway, back. What are we're on topic? There was a period where it seemed like there was not enough to cover everything. We were behind on the bills on everything in the house, and I was kind of getting a bit frazzled. But lately, the last few days, things have turned around. I've been getting increased revenue from my various entertainment areas, like Twitch. I got a payment from Twitch for the first time, which is fantastic. I've increased the revenue from the podcast, from YouTube. The wife got a bonus at work by a generous amount. She gets bonuses relative depending on the month for various work from previous months and different things. And we were very surprised to get this one. And we were able to catch up on all of our behind utilities. We were able to afford some nice food. I've got a nice glass of scotch here. It's not particularly expensive. It's still inexpensive as far as scotch goes, but it was a nice treat. I've been able to make nice meals for the family multiple times. We had a good Mother's Day. Was able to do things for Mother's Day. And things are looking up in a great way. And it's just been a complete turnaround from the weeks before, where everything just seemed like, where were we going to find the money for this payment? Where we were going to find the money for this? How are we going to be able to afford this and whatnot? And it's not something that's going to happen every single paycheck, but it was nice this time. And I feel fortunate. I am fortunate that we have some of these opportunities. We're able to get by. We're just barely managing it, but we're making it. And over time, it's going to improve. It's going to get better. And I'm looking forward to it. I am looking forward to things turning around. My competitors, people who have designated themselves as my competitors. I don't consider people competition because I just focus on what I'm doing. I don't worry about what other people are doing. But my competitors seem to think that I don't deserve all of this, despite all the work we put in. And they actively try to talk badly and whatnot. And I'm not going to give them the time of day. I'm not going to go on and make a big thing about this. It's just interesting to see the difference in where I have come with everything that we've built here on the Uncanny Media side that's growing and expanding versus the other show that is struggling to survive because they don't make the right choices. They don't know what they're doing. They think they do, and they wonder why things aren't working out for them, despite their college degrees and their various things that they've put into place, all the things that they have learned and all the things that they have done. Why aren't things working out for them? Because they don't understand what people want. They don't understand the amount of work that it takes to build the stuff up. You can't just keep taking a break to switch technology, to switch platforms, to switch your position on things. You have to continue. No days off. All gas, no brakes, as Mr. Jacob Fatu would say. You can't stop for any reason, or you're left behind and people forget about you. And I'm not in it for the popularity. I don't do popularity contests. I'm not looking to be the most famous celebrity that ever graced the pages of the magazines. I'm not looking to do that. But I am making sure that people know what we are and that people don't see us disappear. I'm not hiding behind fancy anagrams, behind graphics, and behind different things that people are going to be like, oh, what's that? People see us and they know what we do. It's very simple. And I sometimes feel like it comes off like I'm constantly defending this business. And I'm not. I'm just proud of it. I'm so proud. And not proud in a way where it's like 7 deadly sins proud. But I'm proud and I'm humbled by how well we are doing. And I'm appreciative. I'm 100% appreciative. I'm going to have a drink about it right now, actually. Because without the effort that we've put in and the appreciation by the people that we're entertaining, I would not be able to afford this scotch. It's not very pricey, but I still would not be able to afford it. So thank you. A long roundabout way, all the way around, to say thank you. A couple of things. My new album is still coming out in June. I haven't talked a lot about it on social media yet. I'm kind of, I don't know. I've had so many things come up, but I do want to remind everybody that June 2nd is the listening party for the album. June 2nd, it's at 10 p.m. on Twitch, on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/DMGRGN. Okay? Twitch.tv/DMGRGN. Excuse me, pardon me. And I'm going to be playing the album in full. Start to finish. Plus, we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk. We're going to get into some shenanigans, different things before and after that. And I'm going to be giving away a digital copy of the album before its official release. If you tune in to that on June 2nd on that Twitch channel to listen to Kingmaker by my musical project Spider in the Hall, and you say something in the chat, whether it's hey, yo, what's up, blah, anything you say in the chat gets you an automatic inclusion in the drawing for a free copy of the album. I will be sending you a download code, or even, I'll find a way to get it to you. All you got to do is show up, be a part of the stream, and say something in the chat. You don't got to stay for this whole thing even. Like, I don't know. I mean, some people might not even listen to the whole album. They might just be like, okay, whatever. I just want to win something. Okay. You're getting a copy if you stay and you're a part of the drawing. The album officially releases that Friday on June 5th. June 5th, 2026 is the release of my latest album, Kingmaker. It's under my project name, Spider in the Hall. And I'm very proud of it. I think it turned out really well. I put a lot of thought into it. I put a lot of effort into it. I recorded it over a number of days. Vocally, I did the music over a series of weeks. And it's a nice bit of cathartic release for me. It's not the same as, let's say, Aeons, which was a very dark period of my life. This is not quite like that. This is more like, hey, you know what? People out there don't like me, and I don't care if you don't like me. This is the album that's going to tell you, you don't matter. It's a big, massive statement of, there's nothing you can do to stop me. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and I hope you feel happy being miserable. I hope you're happy being miserable. That's a bit of a paradox, but whatever. So June 5th, the official release of Kingmaker by Spider in the Hall. Looking forward to it. It's going to be on Spotify, it's going to be on YouTube, it's going to be on iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon, Deezer, Tidal, Kubos, I think that's how you say it. Everywhere. Everywhere. And you can attend the official listening party live on Twitch June 2nd to try to win a digital copy of the album before it hits digital storefronts. You will get a pre-release copy. Pre-release download. So that's good stuff. There's another episode of This Uncanny Earth coming up on Saturday. It's going to be Robert Solomon talking about something awesome. The previous two episodes were pretty cool. We had Steven talking about stellar travel via hyperdrive or warp drive, and we referenced a lot of Star Wars versus Star Trek kind of things, some Mass Effect in there. And the episode before that was me with the sounds of space. It's been a great season already, and we're only on the third episode of the new season, and I'm feeling good about it. I think it's going to be kind of an all-over-the-place season, but I think it's going to be worth it. So tune into that. This Uncanny Earth on YouTube. So many good things happening under the Uncanny Media umbrella. And I am grateful for everyone who is following along with the journey. But that's it. Thank you for listening. I'm going to be out of here. We're going to keep an eye on the wildlife situation and see how that updates week to week, because I think that's a fascinating social experiment. Next week's episode, I almost dread it, because it's something that has become a cultural phenomenon. And I don't know if I even want to address this, but it's going to be episode number 67. Episode number 67. So I don't know if I should even talk about 6, 7, or because I don't even understand it, because I'm old. I'm old and I don't get it. But we'll see. Thank you for listening. We're done. Have a great night.